Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bible Lesson 50. Get started with prayer. Bow your heads, close your eyes. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all of your many blessings to us. I pray that you would continue to be with each of my students as they go throughout their day. I pray, Lord, that you would just help them to remember all of the things that they are thankful for in their lives, the many blessings that they have been given. I pray, Lord, that you would just help them to take time to thank also their parents for all the things that they do for them. I pray, Lord, for their parents, for their grandparents, aunts and uncles, everyone who helps to take care of them, that you would just bless their lives, Lord, give them extra special strength during this time. Lord, I pray that you would continue to be with those who are affected by the hurricane, Lord. First we had Ada, and then we have Iota. I pray, Lord, that you would just help people as they rebuild from these disasters, that you would just give them peace in their hearts, and that you would just help them to trust you that everything is going to be okay, even though it doesn't seem like it. We love you so much. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. We're going to get started with our verses, but in just a minute. I want to take a second to talk to you guys, okay? So, I don't know if any of you just like fast forward through these videos and just write down the notes, but make sure that you're not doing that. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that with any class, but especially with Bible class. There's so much that it's so important for you to learn that you aren't going to get out of just the notes that you see up here on the screen. And remember, you should be writing down more than just what you see on the screen. I see your notes. You send me pictures of them. And mostly all you're writing is what you see on the screen. Those aren't the only things that you should be getting out of what you're learning in Bible class. And for all of your videos, your teachers who make videos for you spend hours of their lives making these videos for you. Think about Miss Haley. She has a family as well as studying the university and making your videos and your homework and all of those things. That's a lot. So if you aren't paying very close attention to her videos, even if you are watching them, but you're still not paying close attention, that's actually quite disrespectful to her and to her time that she has given up from doing other things in order to help you with your education. So please make sure that you're watching the videos. I'm not scolding you and saying that everyone is not watching the videos or anything like that. This is just for those of you who are not, because there are some of you who are not watching the videos, and it's pretty obvious. And then there's others of you who have been very, very faithful, and for that I appreciate it. Miss Haley appreciates it. I'm really not sure what you do with Profe Angel, but I know that he appreciates your participation as well. Okay, so make sure that you're watching the videos. Also, another part of watching the videos is focusing in and making sure that you complete everything that I tell you to do, or any of your other teachers tell you to do on the videos. Now, Camila, you weren't here for this, but the rest of you, a couple weeks ago, there was a practice in English class, and I asked you guys to tell me how you did on the practice. Do you want to know how many people told me how they did? Zero. No one told me how they did. Yeah, you sent me a picture of the practice, and that you are always supposed to do. Nobody sent me a message telling me how many they got wrong and how many they got right, like I asked you to do on the video. So every single person in this class, minus Camila, because you weren't here, got a 0 for that project for that week. So make sure that you are doing everything that's in the videos. I do not always tell you if you miss something because you guys are big kids now. You're in colegio. So it is no longer really my job to tell you every single time that you miss something. You have to learn how to be responsible on your own. So that one's going to hurt your grammar grade a little bit, and I'll let your parents know why. So make sure that you are following all of the instructions on the videos, focusing in, because, you know, it's easier to focus when we're in class together. I know that. It can be very, very hard, especially right now. Like, for example, you're looking at a blank screen. You don't actually see me talking to you. You just see a blank screen in front of you. It's hard to focus. It's hard to understand what I'm saying. I know sometimes the volume on the PowerPoints is a little bit weird. It's hard to hear me. So I understand that it's difficult. I get it. I really, really do. But I need you guys to do your very best for as long as we're in school like this. You have to try to do all you can to follow directions and to give yourself the best education that you can. Because a lot of the stuff that you have to do, it's up to you whether or not you're going to learn, whether or not you're going to do a good job. Okay? So I'm not trying to scold you. I just want to encourage you to do a little better than you have been doing. And for those of you who have been paying attention, who have been following instructions, because there's about half of you that are really faithful and doing a good job, and you know who you are. So I just want to say thank you to you guys who are faithful, do your homework, send it in on time, all of those things. The others, many of you, you're working on it, okay? And I appreciate that. I've had discussions with some of you and I've seen improvement. So keep it up, keep going. You can do it. Okay, let's move on. What is temperance? Temperance is exercising self-control. So when you hear that word temperance, it means self-control. Well, what is self-control? Self-control is being in control of yourself. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So it's being able to make good, wise decisions, being able to stop yourself from doing things that you shouldn't be doing. For example, self-control is when you have been on the phone for a half an hour playing a game or scrolling through Facebook or something like that, and you still have homework, you say, oh, it's been half an hour, I'm going to put my phone away and finish my work. Without self-control, you keep going on your phone for the next 3 hours and time for bed and my work's not done, right? So self-control stops yourself from going too far, from doing something wrong, from wasting your time, and moves you on to doing what's right or the next thing or whatever it might be. So someone who exercises temperance has self-control. Another part of temperance and self-control is really just being patient with others, not letting yourself get too angry as well is an idea of temperance. Because you have control over your emotions. That's a big part of temperance, control over your emotions. You're not going to just get wildly angry or jealous or scared even, or even too excited. When you're out in public, have your parents ever told you, hey, have some self-control because you're so excited and maybe you start screaming or something like that? Yeah, a person with temperance is not going to overreact in public. They're going to not cause any kinds of scenes. They have control over their actions, their mind, and even their emotions is a temperate person. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13, verse 5, doth not behave itself unseemly. Well, wait, let's stop here for a second. What's the itself? Well, remember, this is love. It's talking about love. So you as a Christian are to be love. So since you as a Christian are to demonstrate love, to be love, these are characteristics that should be found in your life. So where it says itself, really you could put yourself in there. So does not behave itself unseemly. So it's saying you don't behave yourself in an unseemly way, meaning in a way that's not proper, in a way that's not decent. Seeketh not her own, so it's not selfish, is not easily provoked, so again, the emotions are not out of control. Thinketh no evil. 1 Corintios 13:5, no hace nada indebido, no busca lo suyo, no se irrita, no guarda rencor. So all of those things contribute to temperance. How about your homework? Woo-hoo. Complete Doctrine 4.3, how did God make Adam and Eve different from animals? Heston, it says present, I didn't mean present, prepare to present. The Doctrine 4.3, how did God make Adam and Eve different from animals? So you're presenting tomorrow. Today you're just prepping. And continue your 30 things I am thankful for project. Make sure that you're sending me a picture of those. I'm getting, once again, about half of you are sending me a picture of this project and about half of you are not. So please make sure you send me a picture. 23 verses 11 through 35. Paul's remember what's happened? Paul was violently beaten by the Jews. A captain came and rescued him. He was going to beat him to interrogate him to figure out what was going on until they found out he was a Roman. Then they had a trial where Paul divided the Pharisees and the Sadducees, so half thought he was okay, half not. And so now he is back in jail waiting the next step. Let's read verses 11 through 15. And the night following, the Lord stood by him and said, Be of good cheer, Paul, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome. And when it was day, certain of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. And they were more than 40 which made this conspiracy. And they came to the chief priests and elders and said, We have bound ourselves under a great curse, that we will eat nothing until we have slain Paul. Now therefore ye with the council signify to the chief captain that he bring him down unto you tomorrow, as though ye would inquire something more perfectly concerning him. And we, or ever he come near, are ready to kill him. Ooh dear, that's not good, is it? Okay, so first of all, backing up a little bit, the next night, the Lord appeared to Paul and he encouraged him that he would be able to testify of God in Rome just as he had done in Jerusalem. So we see that the Lord himself appeared to Paul, not just as an angel. He didn't just send an angel. He himself presented himself to Paul. 6 times the Bible records that God sent visions and spoke to Paul himself. And so here we see this is the 5th one that's recorded in Acts. And we see that the Lord is showing him that he will never leave him. He'll never forsake him. He knew that he needed that special encouragement, so he came himself. He had a plan for Paul. He was going to go to Rome. He was going to be able to be a missionary there in Rome for God. Nothing was going to interrupt that plan. Nobody here on earth, none of man's plans, this was going to happen. But there were about 40 Jewish men who cursed themselves, saying that they wouldn't eat or drink until they had killed Paul. Now this was pretty serious, okay? This is not just a whim, and not just a light thing that they said, oh, we want to kill Paul. No, this was a serious curse. They meant what they said. So I want you to think about it. I'm going to spoil this a little bit for you. They don't succeed. They don't kill Paul. Okay? He goes to Rome just as God said he would. So they're not going to be successful. So think about that. They had seriously cursed themselves that they weren't going to eat or drink anything till they killed him. They didn't kill him. So what do you think happened to them? Well, they probably all starved to death because they weren't able to eat and drink because they didn't kill Paul. So be careful, first of all, what you promise. Secondly, never put yourself under a curse. But that's pretty serious, right? Think about what the foolishness that these men had trying to go against God and God's plan. It wasn't going to work. Their plan, they plotted with the chief priests and the elders to kill Paul on the way to more questioning. They said, send a message to the chief captain, tell him you need to ask Paul a few more things, and then on the way, we'll kill him. But we'll see how God intervenes in the next passage. Verses 16 through 22. And when Paul's sister's son heard of their lying in wait, he went and entered into the castle and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions unto him, and said, Bring this young man unto the chief captain, for he hath a certain thing to tell him. So he took him, and brought him to the chief captain, and said, Paul the prisoner called me unto him, and prayed me to bring this young man unto thee, who has something to say unto thee. Then the chief captain took him by the hand, and went with him aside privately, and asked him, What is that thou hast to tell me? And he said, The Jews have agreed to desire thee that thou wouldest bring down Paul tomorrow into the council, as though they would inquire something of him more perfectly. But do not thou yield unto them, for there lie in wait for him of more than 40 men, which have bound themselves with an oath that they will neither eat nor drink till they have killed him. And now are they ready, looking for a promise from thee. So the chief captain then let the young man depart and charged him, see that thou tell no man that thou hast showed these things to me. And he called him, oh, sorry, not excited. Okay, so we see here that Paul's nephew, this is his sister's son, overheard the plot and told Paul. Unfortunately, the Bible doesn't give us much detail here, so we have no idea how he overheard the plot or what happened. We just know that he overheard the plot and he was able to tell Paul about it. So this was kind of an unusual arrangement that he would be so freely able to get to Paul. And then Paul asked the centurion to take the boy to the chief captain. So it was also unusual that the chief captain would listen to a prisoner's visitor, much less to a prisoner himself. This is because the chief captain is afraid of Paul. Remember, he had been about to beat him. He was breaking some of the Roman laws concerning prisoners. So he was a little nervous about what Paul could do because he wasn't technically treating him right. So now he was going to treat him as best as he could. So he would give Paul every convenience that Paul asked for. So after the boy was told the centurion the whole plan, the centurion, or really this is the chief captain, excuse me, not the centurion, the chief captain sent him back with a warning not to tell anyone that he had said anything. Now, this is for a couple reasons. Okay, so we see that in the Bible it says he took him aside to talk to him because he didn't want to show that he was afraid of Paul and felt weakness. So he took the boy aside, found out about the plot, and he says, okay, I will take care of it, but don't tell anyone you told me. Now, this is partly to save the boy and partly to save himself, because if the boy spread around that he had overheard the plot, they would probably kill him. Same thing with the chief captain. He would not be well liked either for knowing about what was going to happen. The Jews would be angry that he had found out their plot, or that he seemed to take sides against them by wanting to protect Paul. But he doesn't want to put Paul in danger because that could be bad for his career. See what happens now, verses 23 through 30. And he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, Make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 70, and spearmen 200, at the 3rd hour of the night. And provide them beasts that they may set Paul on, and bring him safe unto Felix the governor. And he wrote a letter after this manner. Claudius Lysias unto the most excellent governor Felix sendeth greeting. This man was taken of the Jews, and should have been killed of them. Then came I with an army, and rescued him, having understood that he was a Roman. And when I would have known the cause wherefore they accused him, I brought him forth into their council, whom I perceived to be accused of questions of their law, but to have nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bonds. And when it was told me how that the Jews laid wait for the man, I sent straightway to thee, and gave commandment to his accusers also to say before thee what they had against him. Farewell. Interesting, right? So the chief captain sent Paul with around 470 soldiers to Felix the governor. Whew, that's a lot of soldiers. Well, he wanted to be clear. Paul was not going to be killed by these men. Claudius Lysias, the chief captain, so finally we learn his name, Claudius Lysias, he sent a letter with Paul explaining the situation, but he twists it a little bit. For example, he says that he's the one who rescued Paul because he knew he was a Roman. But he didn't learn that until later. So he's saying a bunch of flattering things to Felix to kind of protect himself so that he looks better. He looks like he's defending a Roman against Jews and all of that nonsense. So this is pretty interesting how he twists everything. But in his letter, he still does Paul a favor. He never accuses Paul of doing anything against Roman law because he hadn't. He says this is a matter of him against their law, the Jewish law. So really, Claudius wouldn't have had a whole lot Felix wouldn't have had a whole lot to try him against because it was a matter of Jewish law. So that did help Paul because it put immediately made it seem more like Paul was innocent of anything, because here the Roman was saying, no, he didn't do anything that's against us as Romans. So that would have put him in good favor with Felix. Let's finish this up, verses 31 through 35. Then the soldiers, as it was commanded them, took Paul and brought him by night to Antipatris. And on the morrow they left the horsemen to go with him and returned to the castle, who, when they came to Caesarea and delivered the epistle to the governor, presented Paul also before him. And when the governor had read the letter, he asked of what province he was. And when he understood that he was of Cilicia, I will hear thee, said he, when thine accusers are also come. And he commanded him to be kept in Herod's judgment hall. So we see here that Paul was brought before Felix in Caesarea after quite a trip, where it says that they brought him by night to Antipatris. This would have been halfway between Jerusalem and Caesarea, and that's where the foot soldiers would have returned, and the horsemen would have gone on with him, because to go for the foot soldiers, it would have been too far for them to go, but horsemen would have been fine. So when they got there, Felix asked where Paul was from to determine if he had the right to try him. He had to see if he was in his jurisdiction or if he needed to send him to some other governor. So Paul tells him he's of Cilicia. And finding out that that is in his territory that he would have legal jurisdiction over, Felix said he would wait until Paul's accusers got there, and he had him kept in Herod's judgment hall in the meantime. So Felix, he's an interesting guy. He's not really a nice guy, and he's not really a bad guy either. But Felix said he was not someone who was going to be very decisive. So he wants to have all the facts, but it's not really out of a desire to be just. It's more out of a desire to make sure that he is protected from any unwanted attention or feelings against him. You see, Felix, he was actually a former slave. His brother was a favorite of the Emperor Claudius, and so his brother, through his influence, had gotten Felix this job being the governor. So, and Felix, he ends up being known for being kind of brutal towards people. So he wants to definitely be on the best side politically, whoever's going to help him the most. So he decides to wait until Paul's accusers get there, and he puts him in Herod's judgment hall. So this would have been better than a normal prison. He was going to be kept in a little bit nicer quarters. And we'll talk about that more in the next lesson. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stop there for now. We will continue talking about Paul and his trial in tomorrow's lesson. Have a wonderful day, guys. Love you very much.